Where do you come from?
You're listening to Ladies Night on the Provoke Inspire podcast.
Ladies Night. Ladies Night.
During the day.
You know, here's the thing. Welcome to the
Yes.
Provoke and Inspire podcast. I don't know about you guys, but nobody was watching that. And so it's like, I'm
Oh.
dancing. The music's awesome. You know what? Forget about it. For those two of you watching, if I can ever get over to the other side of the screen, we're doing this again.
Where do you come from?
You're listening to Ladies Night on the Provoke and Inspire podcast.
Ladies Night. Ladies Night.
During the day.
All right, that's better. 8 of you
Yes.
are like, we're there for that glorious masterpiece brought to you by Gabe. Gabe, we love you. Peace, bro. Welcome to Ladies Night during
Your
the
mom
day.
wants to say something.
Go
My
ahead,
head-
mother.
My head on that video is bobbling. It's like it's not connected, and various things we need to.
Well, I mean, maybe that's what you look like.
oh,
It's possible.
go on.
Sorry, Jodi. I hate
No,
to
you
break
look
it to
good.
I get it now. So
Hey,
go on.
and well, first of all, welcome to the Provoke and Inspire podcast, calling followers of Jesus to radical faith outside of the church. This is Ladies' Night during the day,
Ooh.
as you can tell by my surroundings. Very, very excited. Hey, Gabe, you're watching. Can you tell us, is Jodi quiet? She sounds quiet to me. I'm not sure if we can fix that.
Am I quiet?
Is she
Gabe,
quiet, both,
I just
in
wanna say-
heart and in spirit?
one more time, Gabe. I just think you're just amazing.
Isn't Gabe the best?
Yes.
Anyway, we're excited that you're here joining us. And, every week we get a chance to talk, to come together, to converse and such. And I guess we'll just start where the obvious place is to start. Before we started, the light in Ania's location background set
it
was
was-
just, it was like a cave in some sort of medieval fantasy film.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
fortunately,
I-
she's improved the light. Yes, go ahead, Jodi.
Anya, turn your head a little bit. Just turn.
Which
There you
way?
go. It's beautiful. Oh, no,
Oh.
the other way.
The
Oh,
other way?
just
Yeah, you
just
and Luke might have to work on that situation
Yeah.
a little bit.
just
but-
every once in a while during this, just do different views.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that one is lighter.
I like that
one's
one.
better, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah,
Depending on
yeah,
how
yeah.
you face your
Now,
face,
Head
it's
down.
very, very dramatic. Yes,
Head down.
Jodi, go ahead. This is very
Very
very relevant
important.
for our listening audience. They're going to be
And
like,
we-
wow.
I want to point out the sparkles in Anya. She is just sparkling
Yes.
today.
Look.
Look at that.
Woo,
Yeah, it's
ladies'
beautiful.
night.
Yeah, that's
I think it's good.
I feel a little outnumbered. Anyway, we're gonna try to pull it together. I kind of feel like we're on the dudes podcast here. And for all of you who are
Making you
only
nervous.
listening to this and not watching this, I'm sorry. We've referenced a bunch of things. We've broken all the radio rules. We've referenced a bunch of things that you can't see. But what are you gonna do? David, if you could sneak around without being seen and increase Jodi's volume just a little bit, that
David,
would be awesome.
David, come here and increase my volume. No, really, this is Ben is asking. He was
Yeah,
going,
she needs a little
I'm
bit of
not
volume.
coming on
Paul Wichterman says, the ladies, you are starting to sound like the fellas, and that might be my
Oh,
fault because
yeah.
I'm
Well-
1/4 of the
Yeah.
cohort here.
We're also
No,
married to the fellas, so
exactly. And
we
also
made
we're
that
saying
choice
we're,
a long
we're
time
saying
ago.
nice things. We're saying nice things about Anya. She,
Yeah.
Well,
she
I don't
needs to-
think
we're concerned about how she looks. Now look, okay, that's beautiful.
I specifically made the comment last week that it's easier to Kippy, the guy who does all of our podcast editing, that it's easier to edit the ladies podcast because we don't
Mhm.
interrupt each other. Well, not so much today. So we're quickly
sorry.
descending into the guy realm. But nevertheless, like I said,
Good.
Provoke and Inspire podcast. And we're very, very excited that you can be here joining us live. And if you want to listen to past podcasts, not just the ladies, but any of the ones that we've recorded, you can do so by searching Provoke and Inspire on Google. You can search it on Spotify and Stitcher, all the different places where podcasts are found. Go back, leave us a rating, leave us a review. That is very encouraging, and it increases the exposure of this podcast. Just generally let us know how you're doing. And so what we are going to do today is, oh, hold on. I don't have the sound buttons today, and this is usually what David gets really mad about. So, Jodi, if you want to pretend like you're really upset, you can be like, "Where are the sounds?" And I'll be like, "I don't have the sounds," and then I'll sing it. Jodi's
okay.
random story.
Where are the sounds? Actually, I'm interested.
I don't want to talk about it. I was
right.
in a frantic mess. You're lucky I look
All
as
right.
good as I do. I was
It's true.
sweating like a dog
You look
before.
amazing. It's
Thank you.
amazing. Okay, I have actually picked out a random story that kind of fits what we're going to be talking about in a few minutes. So this is it. When Ben was in high school,
Oh
Ooh.
yeah.
no.
mhm. When
I
Ben
want to
was-
hear that.
Me too. So okay. So when Ben was in high school, I would always really be after him for growing his hair out long because he's actually got really, really nice hair.
Thank you,
But
mother.
he definitely, and and as his mother, I always wanted him to, to just do that, grow his hair out long. But he'd always say, no, it looks better, really, really short. And you should see all the pictures in high school. It's
We
just
will
like
not be
real-
seeing all the
yeah,
pictures
yeah.
in high
Oh,
school.
shoot, I should have done that.
Too late.
Oh, darn. That was really an error. But anyway, okay. So he had really, really short hair. There you go. No, Luke, that picture. That was Luke's picture. He actually has possibly a little bit more hair than Ben did.
Ben,
And there's
stop
no way-
showing this picture.
There's no way Luke's arms are that big either. Anyway,
Okay. So I, just to, tell you a little bit more about his hair history was one day. and I
my
have
hair
no-
history.
One day, I don't know why. Obviously for me, it was normal. I was blow drying my hair. And for some reason, I asked, I guess I asked Ben, do you want me to blow dry your hair? I have no idea why I would do that because he didn't really do that, but I did. And what was really, really interesting was we started blowing his hair, and it was just, and I wasn't even really watching because I was just kind of figuring out where I'm going to go on with the dryer. And then, but I looked and all of a sudden I realized it was getting puffier. And so it was like this little halo around him, puffy hair. And then I just kept on doing it because I thought this has potential. And
This
seriously,
did not happen in high school.
okay, maybe junior high, maybe middle school. I don't know.
Can you imagine me as a 17-year-old with like 9 beard hairs being like, "Hey, mom, can you please blow dry my hair?"
No, I
You
don't.
really
I
sound
don't
like
think
that now. So
I don't think you asked, but okay, maybe you were more like
Floof? Paul Wichterman says floof, and I don't even know what that means. Get that floof out of my screen.
yeah. And so then I kept on going, kept on blow drying it, and then all of a sudden I realized it was just like massive, and I thought my son looks like a sheep. Look, see, you can.
There
see
is
the
no
potential.
evidence that this is possible.
You can see the potential. So, with that just profound story that I just told, here's the moral to that story. First of all, of course, Ben needs to listen to his mother. That's number one, because
Duh.
he looks so much better with long hair. And then also, we should never limit what our hair can do.
I feel like we're really.
Yes.
I thought you were going to call him like a lost sheep or something. Oh,
Make
Jodi,
it
that
serious.
is
No,
beautiful. It's
I know.
touching.
It
It's
was like a-
sensitive.
No, I don't think I'm just curious if we really scraping the bottom of the barrel for
You-
stories today.
Hey, Jodi, I think
looks. We were talking later. We're going to talk
Oh.
about. See
Yeah.
how that
So
connects.
you wanted to start off with a vanity
Yeah.
point of Ben needs to keep his
Yeah,
hair long
exactly.
to look better.
And how great he looked as a sheep.
No, I have so many thoughts. Thought number one is
There's
we're
so
approaching
much.
we're approaching the 10-minute mark, and
All right. go.
for the few people out there that dislike our banter, the 10-minute mark seems to be this like red line that just causes like
done.
explosion and teeth loss and such. But
I'm
we
done.
should start a reality show called Hair History, a
Mhm,
loving mother-son podcast about hair and its history,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Like Jodi,
I'm
remember when you used to like dye letters into my head? Like what the heck was that?
That's more.
Oh, I was a
hair-
strange
hair
kid.
history. Yes.
I might not have been.
You were a strange kid,
Yeah.
and now you're a strange adult.
I might not have been LARPing,
Full circle.
but I did just about everything else.
Mhm,
Anyway,
mhm,
wow, that's nice.
Moving on.
Jodi's stories are always so well thought out. It's really refreshing.
mm.
Moving along, a couple of ways that you can connect with us, particularly right now, is through our Hope Beyond Fear movement. I usually mention this at the end, but I want to mention it here in the beginning. We've been creating a lot of content since the coronavirus hit, because what else do you do right now? You work on your fitness, you learn a new hobby, and you create content. Right? That's all a man can do at a time like this, or woman. That didn't, that wasn't just an expression. Anyway, so we've been releasing this content. Encouraging people to get out there, to write things, to create videos, to hold signs, all with the hope of pointing people to Jesus in this difficult time. And actually, since we started this campaign, we've had over 1 million engagements on social media around the hashtag Hope Beyond Fear. So it's been really, really cool to watch God use this, and you can get in on the act. Create something that will encourage people, that will point them to Jesus. Use the hashtag Hope Beyond Fear. That's something that we can all rally around, because I think everyone feels a little bit helpless. I mean, even on our Is There More channel, we released a video. It's kind of a lighthearted video yesterday, but it was 12 things that you can do to help at a time like this. And it's just small things. I mean, donating food, calling someone that's lonely, donating blood, making hand sanitizer. There's things you can do to help. And this Hope Beyond Fear hashtag is one of those things. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to set up the topic for today because that's what Courtney wants me to do. There's a general series that we're going to be working off, which is basically the idea of, in a crisis, the important things tend to kind of float to the surface, and the things less important tend to kind of fade away. And there's kind of this overarching category of what are things that matter, and what are things that don't matter so much anymore. Sorry, I've got to throw this out there. Gabe wanted a hashtag called hashtag a wife for Gabe.
Oh, yes.
I
I'm
think we should get that trending.
I will help.
I think there's at least 3 people that would be
volunteer.
interested in spreading that hashtag. Not in the whole marriage thing, Gabe, necessarily, but at least in spreading the hashtag. Anyway, so at a time like this, things that matter rise to the surface. Things that are less important kind of fade away. Crisis has a way of revealing what's important. And there's a lot of topics that could fit under there, and we're going to explore different ones that are relevant, because I think it's a real reset, right, for everyone. What matters right now. And so the thing we're going to talk about today, which can seem kind of funny and odd, but vanity. Vanity is such an interesting thing that is so dominant in our culture. I don't think we even realize how much attention we put on how we look. I mean, even, like you said, it was even humorously the introduction of this podcast, but vanity is a massive, massive problem in our world today. And so, look, Courtney, in light of this crisis, in light of the crystallizing that it has done and the refocusing that it has done, what do you think it's saying about vanity, about the role of vanity in our culture, and maybe what we need to ditch in terms of vanity as a feature of our society?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this kind of podcast topic for a while before, we were even on the podcast, and kind of confronted with my own sin in my life this last fall when I was purchasing all these creams for my face. Just going to be really honest. And not that that is a bad thing, and we're not going to go into, what's good and bad. But so I was buying this.
By all means, let's go into what's good and bad.
Yeah. So I was buying these new facial treatments, which I love. And just really feeling like it's very expensive if you buy good stuff and things that actually work and good for the environment and so on and so forth, and all these things that you should care about, which is a whole nother layer of being a little stressful. But just feeling like, what does this matter? And should I care about this? And how much of my time should I put into this? And is it wrong that I put time into this? And just kind of being confronted with these ideas. And then when this whole pandemic happened, we kind of quickly moved out of our house into a temporary housing. And I brought like 5 items of clothing, literally 5 items of clothing. And it's been such an interesting time for me because I don't see very many people at all. I go on walks, and at that point I'm wearing like a big hat and gloves and mittens and scarves, and I have not thought hardly at all about what I look like. When I get up in the morning, I don't think about what I'm going to put on. Obviously, I have 5 items, so this is really simple, but I'm not, and it's not even that I don't care. It's just that my mind isn't even going there. And I've thought that this is such a refreshing, just a refreshing time where I'm obviously still showering and getting ready every day. And I think that's important. Another funny aspect of it, it's important to like get ready for the day so you feel a little more productive. But I haven't felt that tension in my life of, am I good enough? And that's not even something I have in my adulthood and in motherhood now at this side of it. Not something I struggle with very often. I did, but now I have reached a more, I don't know, stable part of my life, and really God has renewed my mind in that sense. But it's something I still think about because I go to public places, I go to my job, I go meet with friends, and I care about what I look like. And just as I don't know if you guys have felt that same way, but I just have not thought about it, and it's been so refreshing.
Yeah. Go, Ania. I can tell you have something.
No, it's actually very interesting for me, this subject, because I was thinking about that today when we were talking about this subject of beauty and yeah, what is really important for us as a woman. I maybe don't have only 5 items of my clothing because I have my whole wardrobe and everything, and I like to have clothes. I like to have for different situations, different styles and everything. But yes, during this coronavirus, this time, I use probably also 5 items because they are the most comfortable things that I can do. Everything around the house, be with children, go for a walk and do something in the garden and cook and clean and do this and that and play with them, with the children, of course. And I just really felt like, wow, I just really stopped worrying about that. And my son, Daniel, 3 days ago, he said, Mom, you stopped having allergy on your face. I had really bad allergy before coronavirus, and I was just using so many creams just to get better, and it really made me crazy. And during the coronavirus, I just stopped worrying. I just was like, washing on my face with the water, and I was like, whatever, God, I just don't want to care about my face anymore. I just don't even want to look at my face. And then when he told me this few days ago that, I don't have allergy, I was like, wow, that's true. And he said, which cream are you using now? And I said, oh, actually, I'm just using maybe one cream that is for babies. And he was like, wow, but it's working. I think you should just use only this cream. I was like, okay, that's fine. And yeah, but even like the guy came today to our house because we have problems in our garden. We have every night guests in our garden. Quite big wild boars are coming, and they destroyed our whole fence. Yes, and I had to call for the guy just to see if there is possibility to fix the fence or what we can do really for this wild boar. And I just, after when he left, I was just looking at myself, this dirty trousers, like a jumper and stuff. And I was like, oh, soon is also the podcast. Oh, I should maybe start to put, so that's why I have this sparkling top. You see, that's why I felt like I really need to start to look like a woman, like this is my first day after 4 weeks that I feel like this is special night. I want to look beautiful for everyone. And I feel very beautiful. Yeah. But I know that we shouldn't talk about this now. I just really felt like, I just really feel like I don't spend so much time. This is really the subject that I was even messaging to Courtney and to Jodi. I was like, I really don't spend so much time like for the beauty stuff. I don't go so much to I have my friend that she's a hairdresser. She always helps me with my hair. Or I have a friend like once a year or twice a year when I have wedding or something special, she does my nails. Or something. So I just really feel like um, I personally, I just don't looking at on my friends, or knowing different cultures. Maybe because I'm Polish, I don't know, but I just don't spend so much time on this stuff. Like I was always more simple. I was punk before, like I just.
Yeah.
This was never the subject of my talks with people. Like I never ask like, oh, where do you do your hair? Or what do you do, with your nails? This was never think of my worry and things. But I know that for many people it is.
Problem.
And
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
no,
wouldn't
I
I
agree.
wouldn't say that this is something that I like I'm kind of I would say Ben will not agree, but I would think that I'm more of a simple person.
No, I would
too.
agree. I would agree.
But I think that we and for us, and we live in a very wealthy, affluent area. I mean, the Twin Cities is a wealthy area, and also, I mean, we don't live in a cave. Like we live in the real world, where the societal pressure for women, especially, and this is not just a women thing. This is a man thing too. Where I would hope and pray that this time in your house would make you feel like this release of wow, like that pressure in my life is just not necessary to be somebody, whether you're a guy or a girl. But we live in the real world where the societal norms have become so out of whack for all genders. Like what we're supposed to look like as a male, as a woman, and our gender roles, and all of that is obviously a bigger picture. But
Yeah.
that to me, because we are stuck in quarantine, those societal pressures have faded away, because you don't have
yeah.
anybody. Like, even I know Ben and I were talking today with about like famous people. They have nothing going on. They're not going to any fancy parties,
Yeah.
and all they have is realness, and they're showing that, and it's been so refreshing to see. Like, yeah, I know Ben has this article, and he was talking about Kelly Ripa just showing her, you can say that, but her gray hair every day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting. This is the article that Courtney's talking about. It's in the Washington Post. And it's a funny article because on some levels it talks about the liberation that has come because of this time that we're in. We're all on Zoom, even these celebrities. It's like no makeup, no lights, no nothing. It's just they're in front of their cameras like you and we are right now, and they're sharing themselves. Here are some quotes from this. It talks about it's a little bit weird because it kind of is a back and forth thing. Like Kelly Ripa says that when she shared with her viewers that her roots are starting to come in and the gray hair, she wrote, it just feels like it's almost liberating to have the veil lifted off. And she talks about this really kind of amazing idea that, we're so worried about the way we project ourselves. And now we are in this unique moment where we can kind of let that go a little bit. I remember personally, I have this story of where I'd go to Mexico on a missions trip every year. And, we were serving in this orphanage and there were no showers hardly. There were no mirrors anywhere. And I remember it took about 24 to 48 hours, but you would just forget about the way you looked. Yeah. After 2 or 3 days, you just didn't even think about it anymore. It was so liberating. But Jodi, instead of getting overly focused maybe on just sort of commenting on vanity in general, can we talk a little bit about the heart of it? Because we're maybe experiencing a little bit of a relief from it because culture has shifted so dramatically, but I don't think we've necessarily cured the disease per se, right? I don't think that the real heart problem that's leading to vanity is just going to go away because suddenly we have like a weekend retreat in our sweatpants, right? There's something a little deeper going on than that, isn't there?
Hey, that sounds fun, though.
Yeah.
It does sound like fun.
With other people, like not alone.
It's
no,
true.
thank you.
So what because I've thought about this, because I am not ashamed to say that of course I want to look good. Who doesn't want to look good? It's just, there's nothing wrong with that.
In the words of Shanti, I work out because I want to look good.
Yeah. It's true. It's a workout thing that we did a long time ago. Okay, but anyway, what I've discovered is in that it can be such a trap. It's good because it's just so focused. And this is what I wrote down, and I think it just kind of hit it for me. Thinking about how I look all the time is all about me. I want the attention. I want to look good. It's all about me. I mean, I think if we're honest, That's what it is.
Yeah.
But thinking about others and how you can do something for them, somehow bringing some beauty into their life, whatever it is that would just make them feel like I thought about you and I did this for you or whatever. That's real, that's authentic beauty in my opinion.
Mm.
And there's such freedom in forgetting about yourself and thinking about others. But again, I go back to, I work out and because I feel better. I love working out. So I think it's a balance. It's you don't have to be ashamed of of wanting to look nice. That's there's nothing wrong with that. But what is your heart? What
Mhm.
is your heart?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like what
Mm-hmm.
what is your foundation? Because if your
Mhm.
foundation is I
Mm.
have to be beautiful to have worth, then you're
Right.
always going to fail. But if
Right.
your
Yeah.
foundation is I know that Jesus made me full of value and full of worth, so then I can be healthy and make healthy life choices, then you're
Mm.
not doing that out of a vain
Yeah.
reason. But it's
Yeah.
so
Mm.
seductive. I mean,
Mhm.
it's even for me, like I can say those things, and it's I can know how my heart should be, and I can know my true. And I was looking up some verses about this, and even in Matthew 7:24-27, it talks about the parable of the wise man and the building his house on the rock, and then the other man building his house on the sand. And I want my house to be built on a rock, and that's going to be the foundation of Jesus, and knowing that I have been made fearfully and wonderfully made. And if I build my house on sand, that's going to be the expectations and the calling of the world, not of Jesus. But it's so hard to be
Hmm.
to stick with that. And I find
Mhm.
myself going, even if I say like, okay, I like, obviously I want to get my hair done and I care about these things. And then when I see other people doing other things and I'm like, well, I want to do that. That's not going to bring me ultimate satisfaction, but it's
Mhm.
how you keep your heart tuned in and not letting Satan win in our world,
Yeah.
not letting him
Yeah.
win
Mm.
in women's lives. And
Mhm.
I don't,
No, I agree.
even in, I know you can put what Emma said. You should show Emma's
What did
comment.
Emma
Hi,
say?
Emma.
Yeah, Emma Odin, she writes, she's written several good comments, but she mentions kind of more of a specific thing to gender in the sense that men don't necessarily experience the same pressure, that she'll have a Zoom call and a woman will always apologize for their looks, whereas a man, can like be covered in Cheeto dust
Yeah.
and wearing like his 1998 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt, and he'll be like, whatever.
Mm.
And so I do think that
Mm.
we could talk about this maybe specifically more from, you guys could speak from the female perspective, because while I do think that there's more pressure on men now than there may have been, there is, I think,
Mhm.
in terms of just, can be physical things or just keeping up with style, or just, I think because of the lines have blurred a lot in gender today, that the pressure is a little bit more ubiquitous than it is to, just purely a female thing, although
Yeah.
I still think it's more strongly that way. So I think we can
Mhm.
talk about that in a second in terms of how it more uniquely affects you guys because of the messaging that you're constantly getting. A guy can be funny, you even look like movie stars or country stars, and could be just some old sad sack white guy, and he's still a cool like musician or actor. But the
Mhm.
standard for women for beauty is just completely different. I mean,
Like I couldn't be an
Mm.
old sad sack and be beautiful.
I didn't say you were. I would never call you an old sad sack. But to me, and Anya, I can bring you in on this. Part of it for me is like, of course, the core of it is that your identity is in Christ, right? That and of course, a world that does not have Christ does not understand that, and so it invests
Mm.
very poorly. And to me, um, the identity thing is the central thing, right? It's about your identity at the core of who you are, because you're going to look for other things to find
Yeah.
value in if you don't find value in Jesus. But then beyond that, I think for me, it's also an investment thing. I think of Matthew 6:19, where it says, do not store up treasures for yourself on earth,
Yeah.
where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. And maybe that's taking that out of context a little bit. But to me, it's like pouring your investment into your failing skin and your body that's going to fail you. It
Yeah.
seems like it's such a lame investment. Like, look after yourself, exercise, drink water,
Mhm.
do all those things. But to make your whole life about holding on to your youth is like trying to hold the sand in your fingertips. It's like, it's just, you
Yeah.
can't even hold it. And it seems like such a poor investment. Isn't that part of this? Is invest in things that are going to produce eternal fruit, right, Ania?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to look at our day and think about what when we start the day and finish the day, what we really think, what is the most important. It's like Jesus said, like, well, what's the pleasure that you are looking for? What's, that you need to only look for kingdom. This is your goal in life. This is the most important. And I just would like to share one story, and that it's about this passage from Matthew 6, actually, when Sarah, my youngest daughter, when she was born, I started to have problems, really bad problems with my spine. I had an accident before, car accident, and it came out very strongly that I couldn't leave my bed almost for 3 months. I was just lying, and I just was not able even to carry her. At some point I was carrying her and I dropped her, and I was broken. This was very difficult time for me. And because I used to be a sports woman, let's say. I used to swim a lot. I was always cycling. It was just like, it was natural thing for me of life. I didn't think about this, I'm doing it to look beautiful. I did it because it was my lifestyle. This was what I was doing. I was going to school on the bicycle. I loved swimming, so I was training a lot, like sometimes 4 hours a day. But when I end up in this bed, it was 4 years ago, and I couldn't move for 3 months. I just was totally destroyed, because I really felt like I was always hungry. I just was eating a lot, and I just was really starting to feel bad in my whole body. Just, I can't control it. I can't move. I am putting weight, which I should lose after giving a birth. And I can't do anything about that. That was like, I really felt like a paralyzed person. And then reading this passage from Matthew, I was just feeling like, don't worry about anything. It's just like, I have control. Even I just felt like I'm totally out of control and everything. And just like, I felt like God is just like, calm down, trust me. We will go through this time and it will be fine. And this was, I think, for the first time, the moment of my life that I really started to worry how I look like, because I was like, when I will get up of this bed, I will look like a whale or something. I don't know. I just felt like I'm going to explode. And I was just all the time hungry, just like this was all the time. And so I just really felt like, okay, I know that my body belongs to Jesus. Jesus gave me this. And he was reminding me also that my body is the temple. I need to look after it. God was really talking to me about how we should look after our body, how we should be healthy, how we should, think about these things. But at the same time, for him, the most important is our heart. For him is the most important, like, who is the owner of our body? Like, who is in charge of everything? And that's why it really gave me how to say it, it's just like almost relaxation in my life. It just gave me like, okay, I don't have to worry about that. If I just seek him, if he is the most important for me, and if I'm seeking only his will and what he wants from me, so then doesn't matter anything else. And of course I will try, because I like going for walks, to pray. I like to run if I can, if I have better, situation with my back. I like doing this stuff, but he said, like, just put me first in my life, and everything else I will just really look after. So I don't know if I answer your question totally, but I just really feel like we really need to look and just relax in this, and just see, if I'm waking up, is my my goal going and doing something and, working or whatever there is in our life that is just taking our focus from Jesus. Or when I'm waking up and it's just my first thought, I want to spend and give my life the most and the best for Jesus.
Yeah.
And I want to go to sleep and feeling, okay, I've done what I could. I know just it wasn't maybe the best, but just give this to Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I don't know where you want to go with this, but
If you can hold that mic up a little closer to your mouth, you're a little quiet.
Okay.
Just use your angry voice, Jodi.
Angry.
We know you have that angry
I
voice.
have heard it a lot.
I have, and
These last
You know,
11 years
I'm
have
sure-
been a real hardship for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Maybe it should be a moment of brokenness here, and I'll just say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So not that much. But anyway, okay. So, Emma was bringing, that one. I didn't actually see both of her questions, but the one question that Emma was saying was, why do women feel like they have to apologize? Because it's so important, our look, and it was great, great what you said, Ania. And the thing that comes to my mind is, what do you like about your friends? It's because they're vulnerable. You can just be exactly how you are and who you are with them. That's what you like, and they accept you, and it. I just love to be in an environment. The difference. When you go in a room and that the people really love you and like you and accept you, and they know, okay, you're not looking so good today, but who cares? It's just such a it's so you could be the best person that you can be in that environment, and that's what friends are. That's so it's just, you don't put that pressure on each other and go, oh, why aren't your nails perfect? I mean, come on. I mean, the women that I admire most are out there doing sacrificial things for people beyond themselves.
Yeah.
Those are the women that I admire most. Not, oh, I like it when somebody can really put an outfit together well, but I really admire, I want to be like women that are out there thinking beyond themselves.
Yeah.
When I was looking through a bunch of this morning during my quiet time, I was looking through a bunch of verses about, like, what does God say about beauty and about how we should focus on our outward appearance. And it was so interesting because there is literally endless verses that God talks about outward appearance. And in the end, like, the point of every single verse, no matter which one you find, it is reminding us that he cares about our heart and he cares about our spirit, and it has nothing to do with the outward appearance. And and it's so refreshing, and it's so sad how much we've lost that. But I mean, you'll read all these verses, and even this one in 1 Timothy 4:8, it says, "For while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come." That our godliness has value in every way because it holds promise for our present life and for the life to come. And how powerful is that? In our present life, godliness can change us, can change our circumstance, can transform our circumstance, and it also holds hope for life in heaven and eternity.
Yeah.
Not just here and not just there. It's both. And I was like, wow, like, because I feel like I'm always trying in a lot of these kind of gray areas of life, I'm always trying to find, like, what do you really want? Like, God, like, what do you really say? How can I justify this and that? And in this, I really felt like it was like, bam, like, it is not about anything you have made it about in this world. Like, it's not about your beauty. It is not about getting facial creams. And even to a certain extent, I think it is wrong that we have put so much emphasis on these things in life. And I think that God is sad about us feeling this need to transform ourselves. And how amazing is it that focusing on God and his plans for us affects now and affects eternity, that our choices matter. And I don't know, I just feel like that was, like, for me, just so powerful. And I don't even think I've ever heard that verse before, that godliness is a promise for the present and for the life to come.
Yeah.
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 I just thought that was
Yeah,
really cool.
it's really cool what you said, Courtney, and I really agree. And I would like to just to put point to the thing that we just, I think people, especially women, maybe they stopped loving themselves. You know, that they feel all the time like, how can I? Like I had a friend, and she just was one of the most beautiful girls that I know. And she just was saying like,
You can use
oh,
Jodi's
you know,
name
just
if you want to use Jodi's
Yeah.
name, it's okay.
Jodi. She didn't like
She
she
didn't
didn't
look
like something
me.
in her face. And I was just saying like, everything is just perfect. This is how God created you. And she said, no, I really don't like this part of my face. And she was just so, for years, since she was a teenager, she just didn't like it until she did the surgery. And I've never, you know, this wasn't in Poland. I just never had any friend before that did any surgery, any, you know, just anything to change body, to take here, there, or just change or add, or, you know, just like I've never experienced this before. So when I went there and I just saw this friend that she was just really struggling, like she couldn't stop accepting herself because of this piece of, you know, very important piece of her face that she just wanted to change. And she changed it. And I was like, oh no, it really didn't look good. It just really didn't look naturally. And I said like, I didn't say anything to her. I just felt like she doesn't look now like this beautiful girl before. And I just really felt upset. I just really felt like, is it because we really have this imagination of being perfect and we just want to see ourselves, or maybe somebody said something, or we saw like, you know, this film star that's had this beautiful eyes or lips or nose, and I want to change it because I want to look the same. And I think this is the sadness of this, that we don't want to be ourselves. We don't accept us, how God created us. And it's not only about, you know, beauty, it's not about outside, but even inside. Like we don't accept even our character. We don't accept the way how we think we would like to be more like this or like that. And we trying to change, but this is not who God wants us to be.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't accept. It's almost like rejection of God, rejection of God is saying, I love you who you are. No, I am not who I should be. I just don't want to be, and I want to be somebody else. And that's why it's just, you know, very, I think it's just like looking at ourselves and saying like, I really want to love myself as God loves me, because this is one of the things. I have to love myself and love the neighbors, you know, just how God loves me and how God loves others, you know. And
But Ania, there's a problem with that, and that is we live in a culture that tells us just the opposite. So how do we do that? That would be my question. Is because we constantly are pressured to look a certain way. To, if we're not in shape, you know, we're just not, you know, we're not up to the standard, and so we have to answer that. How do we stay strong, you know, in this culture? You know, and some there's definitely some people that have it more, you know, you know, that wouldn't push that, but there's a lot that do. And so how do you not come under that? And Emma, go ahead.
No, your Emma wrote about
Emma might as well be on this
Emma,
podcast.
You're just killing
Emma,
it
where
today.
are you?
What am I doing
about
here?
The link between social media and hesitant to go off of it because she doesn't want to lose her influence. And I have I'm not a huge social media person because of the very reason that Jodi's talking about. I mean, if you know you are somebody who is easily influenced, and this is not a bad thing. You need to know your heart and you need to know how your weaknesses. I have my own things, but if you know you are easily influenced by other people, and comparison is a huge thing for you, you need to exit social media. It is toxic. And I'm not saying you can't have an influence. I know that Ben has an influence on social media. I don't post, and if I do post, it's all of my children, so I don't have an influence. And I think you can have an influence, but I think it's the rare case. So if you're staying on social media because you want to have a voice, I think you might just be fooling yourself a little bit. And in most situations, it is the wise choice to stay away
Yeah.
from those
Yeah.
things.
And we have
he's going to fight me on this one.
no. I'm not going to fight you on this. In fact, what I was going to say is, first of all, you got to ask yourself, like, what is influence, like, truly? And would there not be greater influence in not participating in that, and then in person encouraging other women to not participate in it, and other men to not participate in it? I mean, are we really influencing people? I mean, yes, I do think we can. I do think we will. But man, you got to ask yourself the cost benefit analysis here, and does the harm outweigh the possible good? You know, I think there's a lot of practical things that we can get into here. I think social media is an obvious one. I think you need to seriously consider the company you keep.
Yeah, like
And
Jodi,
if-
you were saying, who
and-
are your friends? Who are you hanging out with?
Yeah.
Who's transforming your thoughts? Because you are responsible for what you put in by reading the Bible, putting good words into your mind, but you are also responsible for the friends that you keep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
and to that point, I think this elephant in the room needs to be part of your friendships, because you're all dealing with it. Honestly, it's kind of like pornography with men and sometimes women too. There's two types of groups of guys: the ones that struggle with it and are talking about it, and the ones that struggle with it and don't talk about it. All women are struggling with this. Most men are struggling with this. And if your friendships are just not even talking about it, then you're not being honest, and you're not helping each other. You're not pushing one another and saying, you know, you don't need to live like this. What are you putting into your mind? You know, you are beautiful, but it's not just about that beauty. What else are you feeding yourself with? Jodi, you look eager. You got the mic up there. You want to cut me off? Go.
No. I don't want to cut you off. No, not at all. I was just thinking
Don't
about.
be nice.
Don't be nice. I'm cutting you off.
Cut in there.
Just getting there. Okay. I have this friend, and she's just like my closest friend ever, and she's like a sister. And the thing that she does, I think one of our strongest friendship aspects is we just accept each other. I do all kinds of stupid stuff in front of her, like trip and fall, and she just thinks it's funny and loves me, and it's just such a, it's a, we don't, of course we think about, hair and all that stuff, but it's based on just pure acceptance, and love. And I love to be I love to be around her. And so it's I don't even know if I'm hitting the point, but it's I don't have to earn her love. It's I don't know. Anyway.
Well,
think
no,
I've gone
I think
into-
you're right.
Yeah.
And here's something that I wanted to say before I cut myself off awkwardly is here's the sad part. The sad part is that scripturally speaking, when you sow into life, you get life. And when you sow into death, you get death. And why do we want to be beautiful, right? It's not some weird scientific thing like we just get pleasure out of these certain arrangement of body parts or the skin look. No, it's because of the way it makes us feel inside, the perception of acceptance, the perception of being noticed. There's a reason we want to look that way. But the sad part is that I genuinely believe that if you pursue that, you see ugliness in yourself and everyone else around you, and you become obsessed with the ugliness. And then I think even more sad than that, I think truly making an idol out of beauty makes you literally more ugly. And yet confidence and security and joy and a disinterest in a healthy sense actually makes you more beautiful. I honestly believe that. You look at the end product of a lot of these men and women who have pursued the plastic surgery and all the stuff. They do not look beautiful. They look sad.
Yeah.
And now one of the fastest growing trends in plastic surgery is girls in their late teens and early 20s. This is one of the biggest growing segments of plastic surgery, is that literally teenage girls, rich teenage girls, are getting plastic surgery.
And they YouTube about it.
Yeah, and they talk about it. And so, Courtney, isn't this part of it? Isn't it really believing God to be true when he says that when you pursue me and my life, it actually is beautiful. And then you also, the longing you have that you are looking to find fulfillment in beauty, you will actually find in me.
And I think that kind of ties back around to this whole quarantine stuff, because the things that we were doing before, we literally can't do. So if you were finding your hope and getting your eyebrows waxed or what hair done. You literally
Or
can't.
getting attention from people outside of your house.
Yeah, yes. Simple things too, like just getting dressed to go out so you get noticed, or going to the gym and wearing your tight clothes to get noticed. You literally can't. That's what Ben does. He's so infamous.
Why do you think
for
I wear these
that.
baggy clothes?
Tight clothes.
You can't do that anymore. So you have to come to terms with, where is my value? Where is my identity? And am I taking to heart how Jesus feels about me? I think that's where I have kind of come to terms, is like, I have found this peace in being home right now, where I'm like, wow, like none of these things matter. And I need to strip myself of all these things that I have put on to make me feel like I'm going to be more valuable or more beautiful if I do this. And again, those things are not necessarily a sin, but what are you covering with those things? And I don't know, I think that's, quarantine is a really key time for people, because people are able to take the time to strip those things from their life and evaluate how they are taking to heart what God truly thinks and says about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's one only thing that I would like to add, what Jodi, you said before, and you mentioned now, Courtney. I think that we really need to look at our culture. I think it's easier for me to look at, for example, looking at my culture from outside perspective, because I lived in Brazil, lived in England, so I could see the differences and what is really the sinful part of my culture. Like, what is really, because when you live in, and like you said, like, there are teenagers. I know girls in Brazil that they were teenagers doing plastic surgeries, not 20s, but like 15, 16, and moms were giving money towards that, because they felt like this is very normal. So like, sucking the fat, they prefer to do it than to do exercise or something. And it's just kind of things that you live in. So I really think we need to look at things, what we live in and how people think around us. But we need to really ask God, if I'm going to do anything to my body, if I'm going to do anything to be better or look better, is it something that it's right? I think we as a Christians, we need to ask and listen to others as well. Maybe just, is this the right decision that we need to take? And look, we need to pick up this stuff. It's just like, I love cultures, I love multicultural things, and I love picking up this thing. So I can really say that we need to be really open-minded and open hearts to say, Jesus, show us our sins in our culture. And I know the different way of looking at beauty in Poland, different way in England, different way in Brazil. But in all of this, we need to be free. We need to be really seeking how Jesus looks at us, and really just understanding the perspective through his eyes, not through culture. And I know it's a challenge, but we need to do it. We need to really challenge ourselves in this.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
to think it through, to actually think it through and not just accept it blindly and go, okay, this is my culture.
Yeah.
That's quite a thing, to be able to stop and go, okay, this is my culture. This is what it pushes me to do, to look this certain way. I'm going to, I'm going to say, no, I'm not doing that. God, what do you want me to do in this, with my life, with my body? So it's cool. It's one thing that I think a couple things have come out, and you guys it's been great. It's, is that a lot of the desire to look a certain way is coming from a really deep insecurity, where you just don't feel loved the way you are, just loved, no matter what you do, no matter what your circumstances, what you look like. You just don't feel loved and accepted, and that the people that you hang out with really impact that. And so, like you were saying, Courtney, you need to choose your friends well, but also just to really get from the Lord. I remember the day, because I was praying about that. I was as insecure as anybody. I have a lot of stories about that, but I won't talk about it. But I just asked the Lord to show me his love, and over I would do that. And one day I just realized I have this security, this thing where I can do dumb things, and it doesn't matter because I've got this thing settled. I can look bad one
Mm.
day. I can look bad a lot of days, but it's okay because I've got this thing settled. This revelation of God's love deep in me,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
helps.
And you know, I wrap things up here, but I think that we're not trying to trivialize this. And I know that even as a guy, I don't fully understand the weight and pressure that is put
Mhm.
on women, and it's terrible. It's terrible, the pressure that's put on women. And a lot of it, again, as you said, comes from bad fathers, you know, bad mothers, bad brothers, bad family situations, abusive people in their lives. So we're not trivializing this, nor saying that the root cause of this is simplistic. Often it's very much based on
Complicated, yeah.
deep complicated issues, and it's then just kind of manifests itself in this need to be validated through beauty. And the sad part is, what a fleeting thing to try to validate yourself on, right? Like, why couldn't our culture have picked, like, I don't know, intelligence or something? But instead it's beauty, and it's a set, well, it's Satan inspired, because it's this vicious trap, and you can't stop it. You're just getting old. Like, there's nothing you
Yeah.
can do about it. And what a sad thing to do. But I do think that the end result of that deep intimacy with Jesus is this beautiful peace, and you just don't need to think about yourself so much. Mark Johnson, a longtime pastor and part of Steiger for a long time, he'd always say that at this church in Minneapolis, the Salvage Yard. He said, you know, you need to ask God to liberate yourself from the burden of always having to think about yourself all the time, because it's a slave, and it's terrible. It's people that are, you know, that put all this effort into looking good. They're not doing that because they feel good about themselves. They feel horrible, and they see ugliness in themselves and the world around them, and it's a vicious cycle. But maybe, Courtney, can you read that verse for us again? I think that's such a powerful thing. Can we close at that? Again, hashtag hope beyond fear. Maybe some of you need to hold up a sign that says, I'm ditching makeup for good. Hashtag hope beyond fear.
I'm not holding up that sign.
Someone can write
Either.
sweatpants for life. Hashtag beyond fear. Someone can write, I love floof. Ben, you inspire me. Hashtag hope beyond fear. Anyway, either way, Courtney, can you read that verse?
Okay, I actually want to read two. Is that allowed?
Yeah.
Okay, so the one
You're
that I
my
read
wife.
before
I can't
was-
say no.
You can say no, but
Oh,
I
okay.
wouldn't listen. Okay, the first one I already read was
Truth was
1 Timothy 4:8. For while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. And then the one I wanted to end on was Ecclesiastes 2:11. Then I consider all that my hands had done and the toil I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity and a striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. And I just like that one because it was just, I love the image of striving after wind. So this idea that you're never going to catch it,
Yeah.
that you
cool.
might feel this emptiness or this and whatever it is in your life that you are feeling, and it might not be vanity. For a lot of culture, it's beauty. So whatever you're feeling, that void, it is a striving after wind, and you will never grasp it until you are firmly planted in Jesus.
Yeah. So that's our prayer. And again, if this is you and you're struggling, join our Provoke and Inspire community page. Reach out to us. Send us a message. Reach out to a friend. Be honest about it, because it's a trap, and it's a vicious trap. And I think you really need to be part of a community that pushes you towards finding your value in Jesus, and not in this fading, fleeting thing that is just like, you know, like I said, trying to hold sand in your hands. It's just slipping through your fingers, and there's nothing you can do to hold on to it. And there's a great peace when you can find some victory in that area. So, Jodi, you got something? No?
No, I just
No?
think it's awesome. I love them.
Yeah.
I love
So anyway, this will be sort of the series that guides this conversation. What has this crisis made us want to hold on to, and what has this crisis made us want to let go of? And I think it'd be a beautiful thing if being consumed in yourself and how you look would be one great thing to let go, and allow this terrible time to bring some good fruit in that area of your life.
Yeah.
So this podcast will come out tomorrow. About 1 p.m. We're going to be doing ladies' night during the day every week. Ania, Jodi, Courtney, me, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk to you next time. Right, ladies?
You.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Provoke and Inspire podcast. To listen to past episodes, search Provoke and Inspire on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever podcasts are found. See you next time.